Welcome to the Old Man of the Three with JJ Reddick and Tommy Alter, brought to you by 342 Productions. This is episode 157, Trey Murphy, plus a mailbag. Tommy, another incredible night of games last night. Miami Heat win in overtime, erase a double-digit deficit in the fourth quarter. Sacramento and Golden State was another high-paced game. And Grizzlies had a big night, extended that series. Very excited about both the Western Conference Game 6s, but I do want to touch a little bit on last night's game with the Heat, and I want to talk about, of course, the Knicks won as well, I should say. Knicks beat the Cavs. The reason I didn't mention that game is because I have fucking YouTube TV, and I live in New York,
You couldn't watch.
and MSG doesn't have a streaming app, and the game was on NBA TV, which apparently doesn't qualify as a national TV game, so this motherfucker was blacked out.
That's unfortunate.
So I could not watch the game. Very upset about it. But last night, a couple things. Overall in the series, I thought it was interesting. Jimmy Butler, all-time playoff performance. The Milwaukee Bucks kept Drew Holiday on him as much as possible, and I get the strategy there. Drew's a great defender. He's probably going to make first-team All-NBA this year. If you ask any player who's the best defender, I think they just did that poll, right? The player poll. It's true, right? But no real adjustment from Milwaukee for the series in 5 games, where Butler averaged 37 and change. He was double teamed a total of 7 plays. 4 of those came in game 4 when he had 56, and he was not double teamed at all in game 5. Didn't like that. Why the fuck was Brook Lopez not in the game on the lob pass to Jimmy Butler? For the life of me, I will never understand that. Why was there no timeout called with 0.5 seconds? Can't take it with you.
Yep. Also 2 timeouts at the end of OT.
Also 2 timeouts at the end of OT. So some questionable stuff down the stretch for them. A few weeks ago on the Old Man of the Three Things, we talked about the Miami Heat 3-point shooting and how they had underperformed relative to their roster, I thought, all season long. And at some point in March, they started shooting a little better. Ended up 27th overall for the season, 34.4%. As good as Jimmy was, and he was incredible, they made threes this series. They made threes.
Yeah, 45%.
And that made the difference. As much as it was Jimmy, it was them making threes against the Bucks. And some adjustment stuff from Buds, Giannis being out 3 games. There's no asterisk here. Did you see this tweet where somebody was talking about some finals, I can't remember, some championship, and it's just like, dude, there's an asterisk next to every single. You can make an argument for every single season, at least in the last 20 years, where you're like, oh, well, this happened, which led to this. This guy got hurt, or this specific call went against the team, or this one shot, right? It's just, that's basketball. It happens. So Giannis being out, is it a different series of Giannis? Yes, it is a different series. Give credit to Miami Heat. Fantastic performance.
But also, Hero's been out. I mean, so the 2 things I wanted to ask about, one was a specific adjustment that the Heat made sort of towards the end of the game last night, where they made Bam primary ball handler, which it felt like threw off the Bucks defense a little bit. But then the other thing was just the Heat depth and the different role players who stepped up. It was Martin in game 4, and then Gabe Vincent last night. He hit the 3 when they were down 4 with 8 seconds left. And then even the pass to Jimmy was a great pass. Is that really just a tribute to, these guys have been playing like 11 guys all year, and it's been a little questionable at times, but it does feel like they were all ready. I mean, Duncan was ready. Duncan shot really well. They've had all the different, guys who've been called on who maybe have not, played very many minutes, all sort of stepped up for them in this series.
Yeah, it's just being a pro. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It's just being a pro. And it can be frustrating as a player when you're a starter, you're off the bench, you're in the rotation, you're out of the rotation. It can be frustrating. And it's hard to catch a rhythm that way. But the guys were pros. They stepped up. Duncan stepped up. Gabe Vincent stepped up. The 3 to cut it to 117, 116. Huge stuff. Bam brought it up 6 times in the fourth quarter. The most instances in any game of his career per second spectrums. They ran the offense through him. 13 of his 20 came in the fourth quarter and overtime. Defensively, Bucks were 3 for 10 against Bam as the primary defender. Giannis was 1 for 7 with Adebayo as the primary defender. He was awesome last night. A big part of that game. Knicks won. Kind of unsurprising. It felt like they had all the momentum in that series. So we have this Knicks-Heat matchup on DraftKings right now. The Knicks are the favorites. They're minus 140 for the series. Heat are at plus 120. Knicks, who would have thought? Home court advantage in the second round. Knicks are a 4.5-point favorite at home for game one.
The 90s are back. Knicks Heat playoffs.
Yeah. It's gonna be a great series. Julius hurt his ankle again last night, so we don't really have information on that. They haven't released anything. Don't know the severity of it. Don't know how he seemed, he'd missed the last 5 or 6 games of the regular season because of the ankle injury. He seemed like it had been bothering him as it was. I think he's got to be on the court in this series. One thing to note, if he is playing, we saw this a ton in the Milwaukee-Miami series. Jimmy, because of the way the Heat do their lineups, Jimmy basically guarded Giannis a ton. So that Jimmy Julius Randle, two Bulldogs, will be fascinating if Julius does end up playing. How big will Mitchell Robinson be in this series? Because he just absolutely dominated Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. He's going to be huge. The Heat play a ton of zone, and they've literally had. I mean, I called games last year in that Sixers series. They run it for quarters at a time, and so I would look for them to play a lot of zone in this series. Knicks not great shooting team, so that's one thing to watch, that matchup, Julius, Jimmy. Another thing to watch, Mitchell Robinson. Who guards Jimmy on the other end? It'll probably be RJ Barrett or Josh Hart for most of the series. Do they double Jimmy? Like, can the Miami Heat shooters continue this torrid stretch?
Yeah.
Just a fascinating overall series. Knicks, Miami. God, I did not expect this.
One stat from the Knicks game last night that I thought was just sort of representative of the whole series. Cavaliers, 29 rebounds. Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart combined 29 rebounds.
Yeah.
So what do the Heat do to not get destroyed on the boards?
Yeah. It's not just a matter of boxing out. It's really about, you almost have to double team a guy like Mitchell Robinson, double box out there. The awareness, I think, for Josh Hart, because he's such a good offensive rebounder crashing in from the 3-point line. You just have to have awareness. I mean, those are the two guys, Hartenstein as well, and they're not going to play Hartenstein and Robinson at the same time. So you probably have to, double team. Call it a crackback. That's what we call it. You got a crackback on the big. Second chance points in that series, Knicks 91, Cavs 55. Points off turnovers 111 to 76 in the Knicks' favor. Fast break points 78 to 55. Overall rebounds 227, 186. You're spot on, Tommy. This series, as much as I talk about those individual matchups, as much as I talk about the Miami Heat's 3-point shooting, it's going to come down to the nitty-gritty, grimy details. And I think both teams can make their mark in this series doing that stuff. It's NBA playoffs time. This week, everyone can score a no-sweat same-game parlay every day during the NBA playoffs. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app using code JJ, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $10. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Massachusetts, call 800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Kansas, call 1-800-522-4700 on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, Kansas. 21 and over in most eligible states, but age varies by jurisdiction. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources. All right, before we jump to Trey, let me just say this. You know Trey a little bit. I met him at the live show in New Orleans back in February. He's a great podcast guest.
Yep.
Him and I throw some barbs at each other. There's some, I would call it friendly/unfriendly banter. I texted him afterwards and I was like, dude, I didn't realize you were such an asshole. It's great. It's great.
He's a shooter. I feel like all shooters have an edge to them.
I can say this, by the way. I can say this now because he's not here. I'm going to say this. We were going back over, Tommy and I were going back over his draft class, and we're looking at the teams that passed on him in that sort of 10 to 16 range. And there's a bunch of teams where you're like, oh my gosh, you could have had Trey Murphy. He would have been a perfect fit. And it's interesting because we touched on the Knicks Cavs series, and afterwards we were like, dude, Trey Murphy on both those teams would be like a perfect fit. One of the most improved players in the NBA. He's got a super bright future in this league. I don't know what his ceiling is. In some ways, I'm like, whatever a star is, like Trey Murphy is going to be a star. I didn't say superstar, but he's going to be a star because he's awesome. All right, let's get to this combo with Trey Murphy. After Trey Murphy, we've got about a 30-minute mailbag. You guys send in some great questions. Always appreciate it. All right, let's go. Yo, one time I had the deck.
Mm-hmm.
I came on the bus with the deck. It was a big hand, like 15K, still on there. I'm dealer. That's why I had the cards. Shuffle them, deal them out. It's like 5 dudes in the game. I can't even remember. It was like ace, king, jack, or ace, king, 10, something like that.
Really
Spades.
Good. Yeah.
I'm feeling great.
You're good.
I'm feeling great. And I win the pot.
Okay.
So we're putting we're tallying it up, because some guys are like, all right, put me in the books. I owe you $7,000. Put me in the books. I owe you $3,000. We get to the hotel, and Armand, one of the coaches, he stands up and he picks whether it was a 10 or the jack, whatever I had, he had the opposite. He's like, hey, did y'all lose a card? So nobody paid me. But I feel like we all had the same odds, right?
That's crazy.
It's still a misdeal, bro.
It's not like I got the card. Not like I was hiding the card somewhere.
It's still a misdeal.
It's still a misdeal. It is.
We did something like that, though. We went from $5 to $10 on the last 20 minutes.
$5 to 10. Dude, I played 20 a hand as a rookie.
I'm not, so I refuse. But I started playing at Virginia, though, and we played $5 hands. And see, that's
y'all played at Virginia?
Yeah, that's when I learned. Ty Jerome taught us how to play.
So I just found out from a guy who used to live in my building in Dumbo that they have I don't know, it's not weekly, but it's like twice a month Booray game at Saga over in Fidei.
Oh,
they take the private room down in Saga and they play for all night. And I'm
very tempted.
Probably gonna be over there in the near
get over
future.
This is this place, and it's by where we were staying. It's like the best view in New York.
Really?
It's like a rooftop spot, like a rooftop restaurant.
God,
Yeah, that's
I miss it
crazy.
so much. Jason, you can keep all of this in. Just find the time for it.
This is the cold
This is
open.
good stuff right
This is our. We're starting with this.
Anyways, we're here with Trey Murphy. Trey, I got to get this out of the way. We've only met once. It was when we did our live show. You were nice enough to come. Born in Durham, went to Cary Academy. Shout out to the Chargers. My parents live in Cary, by the way.
Oh, nice.
What was your dream school growing up in North Carolina?
Not Duke.
So I can guess the other one.
Yeah, my mother graduated from North Carolina, so I didn't have a choice either way.
Okay.
Even though I did tell her, like, if I was like a number 1, 2, 3 player in the country, I'm probably going to Duke.
Did either Duke or UNC recruit you?
Not out of high school, definitely, and also not out of the transfer portal either.
Really?
Yeah.
That's just shocking to me.
It was shocking to me too.
So much shade.
It seems like a
So
significant
much
miss.
John Shire, what are we doing here, man? What are we doing?
It wasn't him. He was on the staff, but
he was the recruiting guy.
and they were not good that year either. We lost to them at Virginia, but they were not very good that year.
Got it.
What was your Duke impression growing up?
It's a safe space, Trey. It's a safe space.
I'm not trying to attack you, but JJ was a big part of Duke basketball, and just like looking at them like Just something you just don't like about them. I don't know what it is. They just carry themselves differently. I definitely think the new guys
carry themselves differently.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Confident?
They toe the line. Definitely toe the line.
Between confidence and arrogance?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah, definitely. And now growing up, I appreciate it because I feel like there's times where I toe the line.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's just, it's all fun and games.
I'm going to be honest with you. You're a Duke guy. When I think of a Duke guy, you're a Duke guy. I know that might hurt you a little bit deep in your soul.
Yeah, it gave me some goosebumps. I can't lie.
You're a Duke guy. You're a Duke guy. Wait, hold on. What year were you born?
2000.
Okay, so you were only 6 my senior year.
Yeah.
So you don't have any memories of me being an asshole at Duke?
No, my parents do, and they would tell me about them.
Who were the players? Who were you watching growing up there?
Nolan Smith, Shire, Zubek, correct?
Zubek, yeah.
Yeah, Zubek.
I think he's like a straight American, but Eastern European last name or whatever it is.
Yeah, and there's
no ch in it.
No, and I just remember them, and that Butler game, national championship, backboard, front rim goes out. I was mad, very, very angry about that, but Duke has been one of those teams where it's like they've always been good. And, you just don't like teams that's always good, especially being a Carolina fan.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why you chose UVA, to start a new sort of thing, right?
Not necessarily. I wanted to get better on defense. So that's really what it was.
Oh, man. Speaking of defense. All right, so you came into the draft as what I'd heard of you, obviously, and I watched you a little bit at UVA. I try not to watch college basketball, but sometimes I'm forced to when Duke plays. And I knew you as a shooter, not a prolific scorer, of course, because Tony Bennett doesn't like to play offense, apparently. But I have been, and I know it's funny because I watch a ton of y'all's games. All the teams I played for, I like watching, and Antonio Daniels, like literally every game. Like clockwork. Every time you drive, every time you get a stop. You see, this is the growth for Trey Murphy. He wasn't doing this last year. Every single game.
That's his favorite.
I love you, Antonio. But honestly, the defense, the off the dribble game, and I had no idea you were the athlete that you were. Finished 7th in most improved player this year. I did not vote. I had 3. Could vote for the top 3. I didn't vote for you. I'm sorry. I gave you some consideration.
It's okay.
You were on my short list of people that I didn't vote for.
It was always next year.
It was always next year. For you, what was your sort of gauge of your improvement? What did you feel like you did better this year beyond just more playing time?
Really a lot of it was defensively. I could just see what other teams wanted to do a lot better, and all that just came with experience. Like the more you play, like the more you're gonna recognize different stuff. At the end of the day, everybody wants to do the same thing. Like everybody runs the same stuff except for like Golden State and a few other teams. And so I was able to recognize different actions. And then off the dribble, really, it was just getting stronger because at the end of the day, I'm not really doing too many fancy moves. I'm not crossing over between the legs, all that stuff. Like I'm getting to my spots, and I'm just attacking closeouts because people were closing out really crazy because I was hitting shots. And so then the athleticism piece, I just had to do with my summer work. And also, I'm kind of new to dunking. So I'm
new to dunking.
Yeah.
Because what year did you grow again?
Basically every year. But
but you were what? When you were a senior in high school, you were
6. I left around like 6'5".
Okay.
But then I got to high school at 5'8", though. So I grew a lot throughout high school and then grew a little bit in college as well. Yeah. I got my first dunk senior year in high school.
Really?
Yeah. Actually in the half court too. I curled a pin down and went down the lane, dunked with 2 hands.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Now look at you. You're in the dunk contest, finishing
Crazy.
second.
That was you didn't have to bring that up. You didn't have to bring that up.
Losing to a G League guy.
You know what? I'm not gonna say that.
I just gave you love. I just gave you a ton of love.
This is the Duke guy. This is the Duke guy right here.
This got started off on the wrong thing because we were vibing about the Booray, and then you just had to throw some shade at Duke. It's unbelievable.
I'm
man.
an honest guy. I'm sorry.
It's NBA playoffs time. That means big hoops action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Get in on the excitement of every game with the touch of a button. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet, and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins.
Plus, everyone can score a no-sweat same-game parlay every day during the NBA playoffs. Open the DraftKings Sportsbook app, opt in, and place a same-game parlay on any NBA game. If it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $10.
Speaking of hits, my bet last night hit. My same-game parlay with the Grizzlies and the Lakers. That hit. I'm very excited about it. I was on a little bit of a losing streak there, so came back. And I will keep my eye on both that series and the Golden State-Sacramento series. Whichever team ends up winning both of those series, that second-round matchup is very, very compelling. Download the app now and sign up with code JJ. New customers can make a $5 pregame moneyline bet and score $150 in bonus bets if their team wins. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook with code JJ. Burnt your last piece of toast? Avocado's gone bad? Or is the hot sauce bottle empty? The worst. Try grocery delivery from DoorDash. You'll get everything you want delivered when you need it right to your door. You've trusted DoorDash to deliver your restaurant favorites, and now you can get grocery delivery that actually delivers too.
With thousands of grocery stores to choose from, you'll find the best in your neighborhood and boost your local economy with each and every order. You'll get exactly what you ordered, or we'll make it right. So sit back and enjoy quality groceries just like you picked them yourself.
Get 50% off your first DoorDash order up to a $10 value when you use code OLDMAN at checkout. Limited time offer, terms apply. That's 50% off up to $10 on a $15 minimum subtotal and zero delivery fees on your first order when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code OLDMAN. Don't forget, that's code OLDMAN for 50% off your first order with DoorDash.
What can you tell us about draft night?
Ooh. My draft night. So first off, I wasn't invited to the green room. Was not very happy about that. I knew throughout the process that I was going to be late lottery, like early 20s, and definitely would have liked to go into the green room. At the end of the day, doesn't really matter. I got to spend it with my family, and I was very calm up until about pick 12. And when I tell you, I was nervous wreck. It was crazy. I had my AirPod in, so like whenever my agent would call me, nobody else would know, and I could answer real quick. And the whole time he's texting me like, all right, so 12 was Primo. He's like, San Antonio just picked Primo. He'd tell me like, all right, it's not looking too good for this team, not looking too good for this team. Then he'd run down the picks. And then when 16 came, that was his other client, Alpern. He also has Alpern. And then he texted me, and then he called me, and I was like, oh, man, I'm about to go to New Orleans. He's like, all right, you're going to New Orleans. Congratulations, man. Way to go. I was like, all right, cool. So I relaxed. And then when I looked up on the TV and Adam Silver said with the 17th pick, Memphis Grizzlies, because trade, whatever, they selected Trey Murphy, like a wave of emotions just like overtook me. And I literally just lost it. Like I just laid into my arms and just started crying. Like I didn't think I was going to be in the NBA, if I'm being completely honest with you. Like I definitely knew it was possible, but you know, actually hearing Adam Silver call my name was pretty special.
You know what's interesting to me, and I don't know the reason behind this, and I'm curious because you just admitted to crying and the cameras weren't on you. I feel like crying at the draft is a new thing, and I feel like your generation of player is more comfortable doing. No, I mean this in a good way. This is not a knock.
Okay.
I lay my emotions on my. I wear my emotions on my sleeve on the show. I talk about my therapy all the time. It's part of the show, man.
All right, just make sure.
I'm part of the show.
Okay.
And I'm curious about just your generation, like just feeling comfortable enough to do that. It feels like a new thing. I've watched drafts for 25, 30 years, and it's just more common now.
In all honesty, though, I didn't think I was going to. Like, I didn't plan on it. Like, it wasn't something where it's just like, all right, yeah, this is a moment. Like, I'm probably gonna cry. Like, it's just crazy. But like, literally, just when I heard my name, like, I just went to a different state. Like, I couldn't even control it. It was one of those things. Like at the end of the day, though, like I wasn't boo-hooing like Cole Anthony, one of my friends, but it's not crying, but you know, I was in my arms, you know, to myself, like looked up for a second, like to hug my parents and all that. And you could definitely see a few tears streaming, but it wasn't like funeral cry or anything like that. It was just like, man, this is sad. Like, this is great, actually.
Now that I think about it, 2019 draft, and I think Cole was 2020, right?
Yes, it was 2020.
2020 because he was Tyrese's draft. 2019 draft is the first draft that I ever remember, and that was that was the year that they had the parents as part of the interview.
Yeah,
and they would ask the kids, "What do you want to say to your dad? What do you want to say to your mom? What do you want to say to your parents?" And like, I can't imagine in that moment having to actually earnestly answer that question. Because it's a wave of emotions.
Yeah,
getting drafted. It's a wave.
Absolutely.
You know, part of you is like overwhelmed, just like, oh, everything's happening. Part of you is so happy. Part of you, unless you're the number one pick, is angry because you're like, fuck, I can't believe they drafted Sire Sene ahead of me. Like the competitive side of you is like, it is this sort of wave of emotions, and like the tears come out, man. It's great. I love it. I love it.
It is kind of weird. There really are not any other sort of comps for like a life-changing positive moment that's on camera like that. Like if you sign like a record, I mean, yeah, there's like behind the scenes stuff and things like that, but there's not any other industry where that would happen, where it's like, oh, your life has just changed, like financially,
literally.
You know, you realize your dreams, everything has happened in this like last 35 seconds.
I'm surprised you didn't pick up on this because you love to comp the Oscars and the Emmys, but that's the only thing that I can really think of where it's not necessarily a financial thing, but for a lot of people who have gotten nominated multiple times for an Oscar and they finally win, and it's basically a lifetime achievement thing.
Yeah.
Imagine being in the industry and grinding it out for 20 years and not getting good roles, and all of a sudden, like a writer writes a role for you, you win an Oscar. That's the only comp, really.
Yeah. That's about right.
Going back to the improvement thing, I thought this was interesting. There was this Yahoo article. It was actually a fantasy thing, but I don't live in that world. But the headline was, "Is Trey Murphy the next Mikal Bridges?" And I actually thought that was really interesting. What do you think Mikal has developed in the last, 5 years, obviously in the league, but just really in the last 4 to 6 months that you would like to add to your game?
Sidebar, I saw that tweet and saw the picture was Herb, actually.
It was on a Google list for me, so I didn't notice the picture.
Hey, I saw that picture. I said, great. This is fantastic. Picture Herb talking about me. All right, fantastic. Sorry, I had to mention that because I literally just screenshotted it and I sent it to Herb. Yeah. Man, that's hilarious. But no, Mikal, I saw it up close and personal when we played against Phoenix in that home and home. The second game book was out and Mikal was their primary scorer at the time. And you could just tell, like, when he's aggressive and he has, like, the range to do what he wants, like, he can get to his spots, he shoots his middies. And, I'm not going to say, like, I expected to see it in Brooklyn, but I'm not, like, super, surprised to see that, he's the number one guy. He's able to get to his spots and shoot over people. I mean, the way he shoots the ball, he just elevates over people, and he has a really high release and gets to his spots. It's definitely something that I look at, and I'm like, all right, I can add that to my game. But also the attacking closeouts. Like when he was in Phoenix, he was attacking closeouts at a really high level and finishing with a lot of athleticism. So that's definitely something that, I look at. I wouldn't tell him that, just being the person I am. I'm kind of a hater. And so
he jumps on his jump shot though.
I jump on the mid-range shots. Not
I've always been fascinated with this. I kill Tyrese on this all the time, and he doesn't shoot a lot of mid-range shots.
No, and
but he shoots a jumper on his mid-range. Jimmy Butler, I've always wanted to ask Jimmy about it. I haven't. Jimmy, if you watched last night, and we'll get to the Miami Heat game last night in a second when Jimmy had 56,
insane.
There were multiple threes that he shot flat-footed, and there were multiple threes that he elevated for.
So
I don't understand how you can do that. Explain it to me. What's the reasoning behind jumping on your middies and shooting more of a set shot on the three?
So for me, I shoot more of a not push, but like it's a lower release from three. And with that, I'm shooting from farther. And when you're jumping really high and shooting a low release and shooting from far, the mechanics are just off. And like the rhythm and the cadence is just off for me. And so you'll see a lot of people that shoot from deep, like Steph, Tyrese, like they don't jump that high because you don't you don't want to mess that up. Like you're using your legs, but you're using a lot of arms as well. And then when you get in that mid-range area, like you'll watch Book. He's a perfect example of this. He doesn't jump like a ton on his threes, but when he gets to the middies, he's jumping, elevating. His shot pocket is like, well, his release is really high. And, I look at a lot of different guys and I analyze like, all right, when you're getting to that mid-range area, there's a lot of people down there. There's a lot of hands, a lot of contests. You can't shoot a low release shot unless you're fading. And I'm not there yet. So I need to get up a little bit higher and shoot like a higher jump shot.
Is that part of the reason, the low release point, is that part of the reason that you put so much arc on your shot?
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. Because I try to get under it for sure. Yeah. And also that's just how I was taught, just to get under it, get a lot of arc on it. Because if you shoot a line drive, you're just not giving it much of a chance to go in. I mean, unless you're JJ shooting a missile or Kyle Korver. Y'all two shoot missiles.
I had a little arc on it. I wasn't Ray Allen.
Not a lot.
Ray Allen shot a line drive.
Ray and Kyle, they shoot missiles just right at the rim and just go straight in.
It's funny because I would adjust my shot pocket throughout the course of my career. Like I think if you look at me at Duke, it was closer to my forehead. Mm-hmm. If you look at later on, it was off to the side. Yeah. And then towards the end of my career, it was actually like higher up. Part of it is because I had a messed up shoulder. So when I shot it like this, my clavicle would do this and I'd miss. So I had to shoot it a little higher. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was like constantly adjusting that. But it's funny to me because when I would practice, and we all as shooters, you're more than a shooter, by the way. I don't want to, that wasn't a dig.
No. I can shoot the ball well, though. I appreciate it.
I consider you a shooter, a player, but a great shooter. But as shooters, like we practice so much. In a game, I wouldn't have like the sort of cognizance and like the thing to be like, all right, I'm going to shoot a set shot here. I'm going to shoot a jumper here. To me, it was like just that rhythm. But I guess if you're practicing one way over and over, it does become natural.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not really a conversation I'm having where I'm like, all right, I'm right here. Let me shoot up a little higher. It's really just natural, like second nature. But, I look at so many guys shooting the ball. Like I'll watch B.I. shoot, Brandon Ingram. And I watch CJ, like I watch a bunch of different guys and just see what little things they do, because at the end of the day, shooting isn't like just one specific thing that you can do. Like Fred Vinson, he's one of our shooting coaches, good shooting coach. And we talk about it a lot because it's like there's not one set way to shoot. Like if you look at Klay, the way that he shoots is very different from Steph. Or you're gonna try to tell Klay to shoot like Steph? No. You're gonna live with what they do. There's obviously some very fundamental things that you have to do, but at the end of the day, it's person by person base.
Who do you think is the prettiest shot? Not one person, but like who do you like watch shooting in the league right now?
Definitely Book. Book is one of them. Maxey's jump shot is actually really nice. I like looking at his jumper.
Low-key it is. You're right.
Yeah. Just didn't want to give a regular answer. Yeah, didn't want to give a regular answer.
Yeah. Let me ask you something if you do this, because I'm actually fascinated by this, that you pay so close attention to how people shoot, because I do the same thing and I've done it my whole life. And I would tell people, like when I played, teammates would shoot a free throw and I would just watch their release. And because I'd been around them enough and seen them shoot enough, I knew whether they were going to make or miss it. And now I was telling my 8-year-old last night when we were watching the Heat Bucks game, I like naturally do this thing. I only watch the release and then I'll watch the initial arc of the ball. And I'm like 95%. I'm like, I know if it's a make or miss, even when I'm watching on television. I can just tell. And it's not because I'm like, oh, that guy shot it wrong. It's like, oh, that guy shot it wrong or right for him, because I've watched so much of how they shoot. Do you do that?
Definitely.
Is that what you're talking about when you watch how guys shoot? Is just like that sort of time capsule of the shot, right?
A lot of it is cadence. Like some guys, when they're open, they take their sweet time. And it's like, no, shoot it the same way. Like if you don't shoot it the same way, it's just going to be off. Like I have troubles with that sometimes where I'll be wide open. I'm like, all right, let me check the laces, get the spin right. Then I'm thinking too much. But it's just like, if you just catch it, just shoot it right away. Then you're in your rhythm. And so, I'll watch B.I. shoot and he has a different cadence on his 3-point shots than he does on his mid-range shots. Like you'll notice on his mid-range shots, it's almost perfect. Like he's literally going straight up, straight down, all that. With his 3-point shots, he's like, you can tell he's definitely working on it and like trying to get a lot of power into it. And remember, he told me like he didn't even shoot threes like that in his rookie year. And like right now, he's trying to add more and more volume into his 3-point shot. You can tell just like how much better he's getting at it.
Yeah, he does jump forward It does jump forward, which helps draw fouls.
Absolutely.
I know. Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Oh, man. Like James Harden, I remember first time guarding him, and I think it was at home. I remember jumping and contesting straight on. Coming back, fouling a three-point shooter. So
there's a reason that all the guys, well, Steph, I don't think really does it as much, but I know Jamal did. I did. James did. All-time leaders in 4-point plays. Like we all jump forward except for Steph, pretty much.
Yeah, and you sell it a little bit too.
Huh?
You sell it a little bit too.
Huh?
Sell it a little bit too.
So what do you when you're defending that? If you're defending James right now, what do you do?
You literally have to stay on the side of him.
Yeah.
Like when he shoots, you cannot contest forward. You have to stay on the side because even if you are like not touching him, you're gonna be close enough. They're gonna call foul.
James is smart too. Jamal was the same way where. When I was not like a dribble package pull up three guy, right? I was a 1 or 2 dribble off, like a dribble handoff for a pick and roll when I shot off the dribble. Those guys are ISO, right? They're so good when they like feel you head on in their airspace, they'll just jump and shoot.
Yeah.
Jamal would get a foul a game just doing that. Now, they didn't always call it, because.
Yeah, and then it doesn't look too great, especially because he's just launching it at the backboard. But when they do get it, though, it's like, now you got to worry about guarding him.
I want to ask you about this season. Obviously, growth for you personally. I would assume very a disappointment for the Pelicans, given how you guys finished the season last year, and given how you started the season. First place at one point in time, about a quarter of the way through the season. Actually, a little over a quarter of the way through the season. A 12-game losing streak.
10.
It was 10?
Yes, it was 10. We don't.
Oh, maybe.
Tommy tried to add another game on there too.
I was saying when we were going down for the live show, we were like 2 games.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. That's
having to do the live show.
That's
15
right.
games.
You guys won a couple games. That's right. That's it's been ingrained in my brain.
He was like, "Yeah, you were on 11 games. Hold up, bro. It was 10.
It was 10. It was 10. Looked like you at one point would sort of be out of the play-in, and then BI caught a burner. You caught a burner. Like you guys played really good basketball down the stretch, and then a disappointing loss, obviously, in the play-in. Just kind of take us through the season, the range of emotions, the ups and downs, what you learned through all of that about an NBA season.
Yeah, I definitely think this was the most informative season that I've had. Just take it back to the first game. We played Brooklyn on their court and won pretty handedly against a full strength KD, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, like all those guys. Now, they were definitely dealing with some stuff at the time, so they weren't the same team that they were in December, January. But I was looking at our team like we have a really good shot at being a top 4 team in the West. And, we got to December, and when I tell you that was the most fun I had playing basketball, it was like Zion was playing at the MVP level. He was kicking out, and I had so much space. Like, goodness gracious. Playing with him is like you have so much time to just think. Like, you try not to, lace the ball up and all that stuff like I said before. But whole lot of fun. And then, January came, and that's when he got hurt. Roles changed a little bit. Guys had to step up a little bit more. And we definitely still kept, a little bit of a streak going, a little bit of, try to keep some more wins going. And then we hit a really rough patch towards like the middle of January. And that's when we started that 10-game skid. And during that time, it's just like a cloud is over you. You're going into these games like, all right, we got to figure this one out. Like, the games keep building. It's like 5 games, and 6 games. You go into that 8th game like, come on, like, not 9. 9th game, you're like, please, just not double digits. And you lose, and you're like, man, this is like insane. And it'd be games like we're right there. Like, I remember vividly, we're playing in Orlando, 3rd quarter, we're hooping. Like, Jose gets a steal, he kicks up to me, I get a dunk, we get an and 1, hit a 3. I'm like, all right, we're hooping right now. I look up at the score when I come out with 2 minutes left, we're up by 4 points. I'm like, this isn't good. Just based off the flow of the game, we should have been up 15. We're up 4 points. And so then they're on their home court, they start hitting threes, we end up losing that game. And so it's just like stuff like that. You're just like, you start to realize how the NBA works and like flow the game. And, our season picked back up after that Lakers win after the 10-game losing streak. And we just found our groove. We started playing with a lot more pace and just understanding there's a lot of urgency that we have to play with.
Yeah. I want to get to some playoff stuff because I know you're watching. before we get to sort of your favorite series so far, I want to ask you about Memphis. They lost last night. They're down 3-1 to the Lakers in a game they could have won. They've also had this really strange season. Ended up with a 2 seed. I thought Taylor Jenkins had one of the best coaching jobs this season. But I feel like they have become something to NBA fans. They've become something to NBA media, whether that's the villains or annoying. I don't know. I wouldn't know how to describe it. It's not coming from me, Trey. It's coming from other people.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And then I feel like whenever they play you guys, like there's always just something, there's always just something in those games. I was really hoping we could see a Memphis, New Orleans. And it looked like in January, I'm like, shit, this could be the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah, I know.
I really felt that. From your perspective as a player, I'm curious about the sort of interpersonal stuff, but also just the image of that team within the NBA amongst the players.
No, we definitely feel that as a rivalry. Like, they're up-and-coming team. They're a little bit ahead of schedule than we are because, the guys are a little bit older. And we see them as one of the teams that, they're number 2 in the West. We want to be in that spot. And so whenever we play them, it's always a very, high-intensity game. And for some reason, whenever we play them there, they're like the 2015 Warriors because they don't miss. Every single time we play them in Memphis, they do not miss. And it's like, well, I'll watch games and like they're playing some other team. And it's like, all right, see, y'all decide to miss when y'all playing against them. But I see y'all get up for us. Like, respect. We got it. But we definitely get them back at home. So, it's definitely one of those times where it's one of those series where it's not lopsided at all. I wouldn't say it's lopsided. We definitely get the best of them at our crib. We just got to find out how to do it to theirs as well.
Yeah.
I have a question for both of you about Dillon Brooks.
Mm-hmm.
You think it's odd at all that when they hit a rough patch, he decides to not comment? And the reason why I ask this is, Pat Bev, who's been on our show a bunch, who's sort of like a friend of the show. Pat Bev says a lot of stuff. He's an irritant, but he always owns up to it. You know what I mean? He kind of like, he says whatever he wants to say and he doesn't hide from saying it. And it does feel a little strange to me that, especially after game 2, that, when things have turned a little bit for them, he's somewhere, he's like nowhere to be seen.
You're really putting Trey in a compromising situation here.
It is what it is.
You told me that you are an honest person and you speak the truth.
That's all I do. That's all I know how to do. Once you pick that role and you want to be that guy where you're going to be the agitator, you have to live with, not winning every matchup. It just is what it is. Like, you're playing in the NBA, you're going to play against the best players. Like, you're not going to win every matchup. Now, you just have to be the person to own up to that and be like, you know what? He got the best of me. You might not have to say that word for word, but, when you're going to poke a bear and the bear roars, you have to deal with you have to deal with it. Like, this is what it is. And so, I hopefully, they'll be able to comment more on, what's happening in the series because aren't those fines, if I'm not mistaken, when you skip out on those media availabilities?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna just have to deal with that.
You're the one playing $5 Booray.
Yeah, I'm watching my money. I'm very careful, man.
You're gonna go in front of the cameras. A couple things here. So in my sort of new life, I see how these things become a story and then they become a bigger story. When you do what he has done the last 2 games, now all of a sudden it's a bigger story. What Julius Randle did the other day, where they win a game and he's not in the closing lineup and he bounces on, especially here in New York, when he bounces on that, it's just not a good look. It becomes part of the story. Hey, whether you believe this or not, hey, part of that group that finished the game. I'm glad we got the win. I'll be ready for game 5. I got to be better. Boom. There's no story now.
That's it.
Dillon Brooks, hey, you got the best of me. There's no story now. So that's surprising. On the Dillon Brooks specifically, I love agitators. I do. I love Pat Bev. I love Marcus Smart. People can agitate in different ways. Jose is an agitator.
Oh,
I think
for sure.
Alex Caruso is an agitator in a different way. They're valuable. TJ McConnell. There's a guy. They're valuable to teams. So I think Dillon Brooks has value.
For sure.
I really believe that. And he's a guy that if you can figure out the offensive piece where it doesn't hurt your team, it doesn't have to be like a super positive, but I feel like right now the offensive piece is actually hurting the team. I want him on my team. I do. I want a guy like Dillon Brooks. I want an agitator on my team. You need him on your team. So to me, this is not like a personal thing about Dillon. I just don't like when guys don't go in front of the cameras and don't own it. Just own it.
Absolutely.
We all at some point are going to have to own it. And now you're creating a bigger story.
In all honesty, too, I must say, like, I appreciate him, the way he plays.
Yeah.
Because I remember our Memphis game when we played them at home. I wasn't sleepwalking, but like I wasn't playing well at all. And then he got into he gets an and one, starts flexing, starts yelling. And then that's when it turns that flip for me. We're like, all right, now we're playing.
He
like,
poked the cub.
Yeah, cub. I'll take cub. I'm not a bear yet. But
You're not LeBron.
No, I'm not LeBron. But then that turned me up, and I was appreciative of it. Plus, at the end of the day, it's competing.
Yes.
Like that's what it's all about. Like there's guys that take like the trash talk and all this stuff to like, all right, this is personal now. Like, hate this person. Like, no, this is basketball. At the end of the day, like we're talking in between the lines and stuff like that because we're trying to compete, we're trying to win. Now, if you want to make it personal, then that's on you. But I just look at it as part of the game.
Here's what I would ask to you as a fan, to you as a player and a fan of the game, to all the fans out there that complain about guys like him, or complain like last year when Mad Dog said, I wish Draymond would just shut up and play, right? Don't you want competition? Don't you want to be entertained? To me, like, let's take the dirty plays out of it. And Dillon Brooks is not the only player that makes dirty plays. He's had a couple dirty plays in his career, okay? The play on Peyton last year was a dirty play, all right? But don't you want to be entertained? Doesn't it make it more interesting?
So much more interesting. Like, first of all, why are you in the NBA if you don't want to compete? Like, this is why you're here. You compete at a high level. Like, your draft workouts, a lot of guys, you're going against other guys. That's how you get better. That's how you show them this is what you deserve. Like in my workouts, I didn't have one single 1-on-0, and I did 14 workouts because I wanted to show people I can compete, I can defend. I'm going to go against this other guy. I'm going to be better than them. Yeah, it's just as simple as that.
This is what I love about Draymond, and I personally didn't have an issue with him going at the crowd, even though that definitely added to his punishment. But I
didn't have an issue either.
What I love about Draymond is he faces the cameras. He literally has a podcast that he goes on and talks about that he talks about this stuff afterwards. And I'm not in the locker room. I don't know what the sort of conversations are in terms of teammates and everything like that. But he was a clear motivating force when he got back. He obviously played great, but there was a thing where it was like he was going to use that energy to rally the team. I think some of the stuff I completely agree with you that it's good for the game. The storylines are good for the game. I guess I'm disappointed in Dillon Brooks because I think, to your point, if he had just owned it, it would have been fine. He's just a character in the series, and now it's just kind of lame. And it's like, dude, we don't really want to hear from you anymore. If you're not going to do it when the going gets tough, then it just becomes annoying and like a little bit of a sideshow.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Actually, I just thought about it too. There was one point where they were asking him a question every other minute, and I remember they had a quote from him like on Twitter all the time. I was like, dang, like this is media availability like during practice and like when I get out the shower, like they're asking him all these questions. Like all I see was Dillon Brooks quotes like everywhere, and dressing up on the bench and stuff. He's doing a lot, which is cool. But it's like you got to face it.
Which just brings me to a random mini rant here. Mini rant. I hate when there's a quote that breaks out on social media, and like Dame. This happened with Dame a bunch where he's talking about why he's staying. And like it was every other week there'd be a quote about it, right? Yeah. And like the comments under it would always be something along, why does Dame keep talking about this? And it's like, because we get fucking asked about it. We have to be in front of we contractually with our CBA have to be in front of the media damn near every day. We get asked about it. So that's why we talk about it.
These same questions.
Yeah.
Like, you understand how many times I get asked, how much do you love playing with Zion? I love Zion. That's my guy. Why do you have to ask me this every other time? Like,
how much do you love playing with Zion?
I had a lot of fun in December. I told you that. I had a lot of fun. I'm telling you.
What was your first playing against LeBron experience like?
trying to think about this because I didn't play. There was a lot of DNPs my first year. So I'm trying to remember for sure if my first game against them was a DNP. My first game against them was a DNP in LA. So the next time I played against them was the time where they were trying to make that playoff push my rookie year. And we were down by 20 at half. And I came in and I think I scored like 18 in the third quarter.
I remember that game.
Yeah, that was one of the games where I actually started to feel comfortable and like, all right, I belong here because I definitely came along a lot later in my rookie year. And, you know, it was a pretty cool experience going against LeBron and, you know, almost putting them out of their, you know, playing, not exactly, but setting them back a little bit. And mainly because I was a Kobe guy growing up. So that's one other reason. And
you couldn't. I feel like that you live in a very black and white world.
Yes,
you do.
Yeah,
you do. Maybe it's because of the way you were raised with this Duke UNC thing. It's okay to like both.
No. Oh, absolutely not.
Learn to love the gray. All right.
I couldn't live in my house if I liked Duke. So no, but no, it was really cool. And then you know, after the game, it was my mom's birthday, and my mom loves LeBron. And you know, I asked him, I was like, can you take a picture with my mom? It's her birthday. And he was very nice to take a picture with her for her birthday. And I was very appreciative of that because I understand, like, after a loss, a lot of guys are, you know, not very good people, which I'm not either. But, like,
yeah,
it's for my mom. So I was appreciative of that.
I love that. Playoffs this year. Do you have a particular series that you've been most entertained by, intrigued by, focused on?
Definitely Sac and Golden State. You know, those two teams have extremely potent offenses. Like, I was watching that first game, and the shot making in that game was so insane. Like, I'm really watching, like, wow, like, I'm in amazement. Like, De'Aaron Fox was cooking. Like, that was his playoff debut, 38. Steph had 36 or something like that. And Clay was hitting big shots down the stretch. Like, everybody was really playing at a high level. And, you know, that was one of those really fun games to watch. Malik Monk came on and was really hooping too. It was just a really high-scoring game. And then you look at the flip side of it. I like looking at the Cavs and Knicks series, which is a very slow-paced, low-scoring game, but they're just bruising. Like, it's really like tough basketball they're playing over there. And, you know, I was actually at the game on Sunday, the Knicks game, you know, supporting Josh Hart. That's my guy. And it was rocking in the Garden. And, you know, it was really a lot of energy in there.
Yeah, two different brands of basketball in those two series.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're putting this out after Game 5. The thing that is, I think, stood out, the thing that stands out to me, I should say, about the two series and the differences is legitimately shooting and spacing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why the Knicks and Cavs have to play this way.
Absolutely.
And that's why the Kings and Warriors can play this way, is because there is spacing and there is shooting. I have equally enjoyed them both, although I will say I don't think, even when the Knicks have played well, I don't think it's been a pretty series at all. And I generally like open, pretty basketball. But the thing for me with the Knicks that gets really interesting is if it ends up being Miami in the second round, where all of a sudden you're talking about
some hard playing basketball right there.
Yes, it's like that's like, to me, it's the Cleveland series doubled down. Yeah, and then one of those teams could potentially end up in the conference finals. I don't want to count Giannis and the Bucks out at all. I should say that, by the way. Have you watched the Suns Clippers series? Because that's the one to me that's been interesting because of the way Book has played and the way Kevin has played, where Kevin at times is fine being 1A and fine being 1B, and it has just allowed Devin just complete freedom. And for someone that has guarded those guys, played against those guys, did you play against Phoenix, by the way?
Which Phoenix team?
Yeah, with the two of them?
No.
So you hadn't played. I'm just curious, like, how do you sort of game plan for that? What is the game plan there for those two guys when they're on the court together?
Really, like, what are you even really supposed to say? Like, if you double them off the screen, all right, short roll DA who hits mid ranges like they're layups, or he's kicking out to Book. You have to choose between Book and CP. It's like at the end of the day, like CP is still knocking those down. It's tough. Like at the end of the day, like you want to put Herb on whoever their primary is, and then the guys on the back, you just got to zone up and just figure it out. And you just got to pick who you want to beat you. I think that's really what it is. Like I think teams are trying to make it seem like, you know, we're just going to make Torrey Craig beat us. And it's just not that easy when you have two prolific scorers that are very aggressive, like going at you on the court. And Chris Paul, I think he's actually like taking a little bit of a backseat to like playmaking as much. Like KD's had the ball a lot in his hands, like with pick and rolls, trying to find different guys because of how effective he is in pull-ups and drop coverages and stuff like that. So it's tough. It's definitely a tough cover. And a lot of your game plan has to be on the other end, trying to get those guys in foul trouble. I think that's a big thing, making those guys guard. If they are worrying about fouls, they're not as effective because they won't be on the court.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was looking up on my phone. I wanted to make sure I got this stat right. Phoenix is averaging 14.3 made 2-point jumpers a game in the series, which goes against everything that is the modern NBA. And to me, that's a big reason that they are hard to game plan for, because of the way you just described the after effects of blitzing any pick and rolls with Ayton. So if you choose to play them in drop coverage, which they've done a ton with Zubac, it ends up just playing into their strengths. And they haven't necessarily generated a ton of open looks from three, but because those guys are so prolific and so efficient, it shows you the value. Jalen Brunson, another example is Knicks have not shot the ball well in this series, but when you have guys that can score off the bounce from two, it just shows you the value of self-shot creation from the mid-range in the playoffs. And it that's not how teams play. That's not how teams necessarily draft players now. It's not how teams develop players now. Like, is Willie telling you, like, hey, drive or shoot a three? And if you get to the mid-range, you don't have a drive, kick it? Because I had coaches that told me that towards the end of my career.
I mean, I just had my ex interview. So he told me exactly what he wants me to do. He wants me to work on getting to the rim, finishing, and shooting threes. That's just the way they want us to play. And that's the most efficient way to play. And at the end of the day, teams are giving up twos. But if you're giving them up to KD and Devin Booker, it's like, that's tough. Like, they're going to make those. And they're going to make you pay for them.
With this Sac Golden State, we were talking about this the other night with Sac in particular, how fast they play and just how you approach that defensively, just knowing that these guys, it's going to be a track meet and they're going to wear you down. Do you think Golden State has done anything well? Because offensively, they actually are not at the same pace that they were in the regular season where they were setting all these records. What do you do to prep for, I guess, both those offenses? Because they both move at a certain speed.
Those games, like going into them, you are in a different headspace because you understand everybody on the court is a threat. And you're prepared for, like, all right, we're going to have to talk. We're going to have to communicate, because if we don't switch correctly, they're going to get layups or they're going to get threes. And so I feel like what helps, first of all, is that Mike Brown is from the coaching tree of from Steve Kerr. And it's like they both know exactly what they're trying to do, and they're very similar brands of basketball. They guard each other. Like, basically, you're guarding Sac in practice the whole year because that's the way that they play, and they're used to that. And a lot of what they're doing is just taking them out of their actions by switching everything. If you switch everything, it's a lot easier to take them out of action. And another thing they're doing that hasn't been working phenomenal, but it's what you'll have to live with, is just, making De'Aaron hit mid-range shots. And he's been doing a great job of that, getting to the cup, but that's just the way you take away the three-point attempts.
I don't know what the updated numbers are, but I believe it was through the first 2 games or something of the series. He was 4 for 20 on jumpers in the first 3 quarters and 7 for 11 in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
Obviously, clutch player of the year, all that stuff. To me, you have to give Fox a lot of credit, because they came into the series with a game plan, and he said, okay, I'm going to beat your game plan by doing the thing that you want me to do.
Yeah.
And he's made jumpers when it mattered. Nearly won game 4, with the 3-pointer to cut it to 1, and then obviously kicked it to Barnes for the 3. The other one I wanted to ask you about, from guarding sort of old heads, the LeBrons of the world, guarding guys like Jimmy, who maybe is a little younger than Bron, to guarding, Book and Tatum and those guys that are even younger. What is Anthony Edwards' ceiling? Because to me, I called his game Friday night. I feel like, partially because I think he is already a good defender. I think he can be a great defender, a phenomenal two-way player along the lines of Kevin Durant or Giannis, or I think Tatum's an elite two-way player. Yeah. I think he's potentially a guy we talk about as being a top 5 player, and to be a top 5 player, you essentially have to be good enough to be the guy on a championship team. I think he's potentially that good.
I literally said top 5 player in my head. So that's what I see him as. And it's funny you mentioned that. And I'm going to bring up my welcome to the NBA moment. And sadly, it's from a guy that's younger than me, which is crazy. But we're playing Minnesota there. This is probably game 2 of my rookie year. And Anthony Edwards, this is third quarter. They're on a little bit of a run. And Anthony Edwards is coming full speed down the right side of the court. And I'm telling my teammate to cut him. So you mean when you cut him off in transition, it makes him change direction so I can go time it up for a block. When he tried to cut him, he hit him with an in and out, and he fell for it. And so when he fell for the in and out, he got a loading step, and I'm just down there waiting for Anthony Edwards. And I was like, all right, I'm going to time this up. I'm actually going to try to go get this. The power that he went back on the tomahawk was so strong. I said, I'm not getting that. So I bailed out in the air in the middle of
business decision.
Yeah, I bailed out because if I foul him and he still dunks it and they're on a run like this, it's just not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was just like, let me just get out the way. And that was probably one of my welcome to the
One of my favorite things about this podcast is that it is an audio podcast, obviously, but we also are a video podcast on YouTube. So
you don't have to do that.
There will be a nice video overlay as you describe.
We're gonna get it clipped up. That's gonna be the thing from this thing that everybody will see.
And you know what's crazy? You can't embarrass me. I feel like I'm one of those guys where it's like, it happened. At the end of the day, you got to own up to it. Like we talked about before.
Yeah. I appreciate guys that are willing to challenge players at the rim. And a lot of times it is fives. It is, a guy like Embiid or Jared Allen, challenges everybody. Giannis got dunked on again last night by Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
He kind of blocked the shot into the rim, to be honest
Jimmy's
with you.
mad strong.
Yeah.
Mad
You're
strong.
not getting this ball from me.
No.
But it's weird because a lot of the guys that try to block shots at the rim are the guys that are inevitably going to get dunked on the most.
No, for sure. I got dunked on in Portland by Eubanks, and literally 3 plays down, I dunked on him after that. It's just basketball. It happens.
Do you have a favorite body you've caught?
Do you have one, JJ?
Of yours?
No, yours.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I do actually.
Is it going to take you this long?
Nope, I got it. January. I got to get the age right, guy. January 2001. I believe it was January 3rd. Okay. Playing Franklin County at Franklin County, rival high school.
Okay.
Had to take it back. And
2001, so you were 1 year.
It was
not yet, actually. Well, yeah, I was 1 going on 2.
Yeah, it was my flu game. My mom found some old sausage in the fridge and cooked me up some sausage before I went to bed. And I got food poisoning. And so I spent all day in bed. I had to be at school at 1:15 to play or something. So I showed up 1:14, didn't eat anything all day, had a ginger ale right before the game, and I went and dropped 41. But in the first half, got a little outlet pass, threw it to my guy, Brian Hamilton. He threw me a lob, and I caught the lob on a guy's head, dunked it and won, and hung on the rim. And that's one of 2 bodies I've ever caught.
Are they going to show the video of that one on?
You can find it on YouTube, believe it or not.
Put it on here.
You can find it on YouTube.
You got to put it on here. You put my
watch
video.
The full video. It's like an hour and 27-minute game, but it's there in the second quarter.
You can clip it just like you're going to clip my video. Go ahead, clip yours. I needed time to think about mine, but probably Zach Collins in my rookie year. I went down the lane. They were in a 2-3 zone, pump fake, jab step right, went down the lane, dribble left hand. In the play before that, they ran a play for me, and I curled to the rim, and I tried to reverse layup. It hit the bottom of the rim. I fell down. Real embarrassing play. So I was really mad about that. And so then when I went to the rim the next time, I was like, I'm gonna make sure I dunk it. And chest to chest, like body to body contact, it was really good one.
I have a playoff question for both of you guys. Do you guys have an unsung hero so far, or somebody in the future you think is going to be?
Yeah,
I
do.
Is it hard? I feel like we have the same person.
No, there's no way you have
Okay.
It's my guy. It's the guy I talk about all the time. Who is it for you?
Josh Hart.
Okay, all right, yeah, that's fine.
But I'm gonna give you two though. I mean, Jimmy Butler, obviously.
I think I know who you're going to say.
Yeah, Derrick White, obviously.
All
Derrick
right.
White, yeah.
All right, I understand. He's playing really well.
He's playing offensively. He's averaging 20 a game as of this recording.
Yeah,
He's been awesome. We did this whole thing about Alfred's. Are you familiar with Batman Begins? You've seen the movie, the first Christopher Nolan movie?
I'm more of a Marvel guy, but yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So Ra's al Ghul, he burns Batman's house down, Wayne Manor, and Bruce Wayne goes in, and the burning beam falls on him, and he's stuck there. House is on fire, burning beams on him, can't get it off. And who comes in to save him? Alfred, right? Yeah. And to me, Derrick White is the ultimate Alfred. Yeah, he is like just any matchup, any series, he's going to figure out a way to make an impact and help the stars. And truth be told, he's starred in that series so far. He's been awesome. And he's been awesome all season. The fact they got him for not a whole lot from San Antonio is remarkable.
Him and Brogdon. They get these guys who they bring them in for not a lot. And
UVA.
We know.
Just making sure you know.
I begged the Clippers to draft Brogdon in 2016. They had the 25th pick and I think the 33rd pick, and they chose Bryce Johnson, UNC guy.
Yeah, I remember.
And Diamond Stone, a Maryland guy.
I remember him too.
Yeah, those guys didn't last as long as Brogdon.
No, definitely not.
What's the all-time UVA starting five? How does it
I'm gonna just say I'm not in it. I'm gonna be honest enough and say I'm not in it. I probably have to say Brogdon, Ralph. I feel like I'm missing. Oh, Sean Singletary. He's definitely in there. Probably DeAndre. I'm gonna go with a more modern lineup. For what they did at UVA, I'll put in Kyle. So I'll have DeAndre at the 5. It'll be a relatively smaller lineup. Probably different from how they would play, but that's the 5 that I would go with.
Okay. Can't argue with that because you're naming guys that won a chip.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Ralph Sampson.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go Harold Dean.
Okay.
I'm going to go Curtis Staples, Junior Burrow, and I'm going to throw DeAndre Hunter in there.
I know a lot of basketball, but going a little way back from my
it's the
knowledge.
90s, bro. It's the 90s.
I wasn't alive.
That's fair.
Real quick on Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat. Jimmy, in particular, is a very interesting player to me because so much of the game he feels passive as a scorer, and then it gets to the fourth quarter a lot of times, and he just kind of says, all right, it's my time to score. I'm going to be really aggressive. And when he had 56, it was the opposite. Well, not the opposite, but the opposite starting approach where he really was aggressive scoring early. And if he hadn't been that way, they might have been down 15 or 20 by the start of the second quarter. But the interesting thing about this whole series is Miami was 27th in three-point percentage this year. They're 34.4%. Through 4 games against the Bucks, they're shooting 47.6%. Yeah. We've talked about the mid-range and how important that is in the playoffs. But if you're allowing a team to shoot 48% from 3, you're in trouble.
You're going to lose.
And again, we may not know. I don't know if that's sustainable. I think Milwaukee will have won last night, but I could be wrong in game 5 because this is coming out Thursday. But I think the shooting is unsustainable. In guarding Jimmy, do you ever feel that? Do you ever see that playing against him? Just the passivity at times to be a scorer and then the aggressiveness, the sort of combination of the two.
That actually leads me to a story that I have. And I'm going to give the cleaner version of this because obviously, clean version. But we're playing Miami in Miami. It's fourth quarter, probably around the 2 minutes left, 1.5. And Jimmy's been hooping all game. And I'm on him at this point. I'm guarding Jimmy. And he looks at Kyle and says, "Go get the ball," and he says it multiple times, and I'm just like, all right, like, I guess I'm not guarding Jimmy. I guess I'm gonna be guarding Jimmy while he's chilling in the corner. Kyle Lowry scores 12 straight points, and we lose that game. Part of our 10-game losing streak. And I was just like, there's no way this just happened. Like, and he's coming down hitting tough shots, like cross, mid-range, falling away, knockdown. And it's just like, it just shows you how good guys are in the NBA because they can literally turn it on in an instance.
Yeah.
Whenever they want to. And also with the help of Jimmy Butler telling you, go get the damn ball. Like,
that's empowering.
Yeah,
That's
for sure. Or it's like, I don't really want to deal with this dude right now. So I'm gonna just do it. And it's like guarding Jimmy, a lot of it is like, you just can't put your hands on him, especially in the regular season, because he's gonna draw fouls. Right now, I feel like he's really just scoring at will, where it's just like, he doesn't care if he's getting fouled or not. But in the regular season, I feel like he's like somewhat coasting, and he's like, all right, I'm gonna get to the free throw line, I'm gonna get to my spots, and if you jump on this pump fake, I'm gonna hit you in your rib, and I'm gonna go to the foul line while you're holding your rib.
It's interesting because people talk about guys getting to their spots, and Jimmy, to me, embodies that more than anyone.
Absolutely.
Where, like, you can't speed him up. No. He gets unbothered by contact, and a lot of times he does draw a foul. But if you're physical with him, like, it doesn't seem to like phase him. It's not like, oh, I'm going to speed up now, or you're going to take me off my spot. He's just like, no, I'm still going to just play at my own pace and do my own thing. Luka's like that a little bit too.
A lot.
They're similar in that regard. All right, Trey, one last question. It's the Roback question. Reminder to our viewers that you can use the code OLD on roback.com for 20% off your first purchase. That's RHOBACK.com. This is a Roback polo I've got on right now. Code OLD. Trey, your last question is very easy. What is your go-to pregame meal?
Go-to pregame meal. Wings.
What?
Hold up.
What kind of wings?
Oven fried grilled wings. Okay. So it's not like lemon pepper. Like it's not like that.
Right.
My chef cooks them, real nice.
All right.
Brussels sprouts and sweet potatoes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You threw me off with the first item there.
Because you're thinking of Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm talking about like grilled.
And some ranch sauce.
No, they're plain wings. Like not a whole lot of seasoning on them. But
all right.
I was going to ask you this. Do you have any kind of pregame like crazy ritual? Do you know JJ's ritual?
Not exactly. I know he's very meticulous and does a whole lot of stuff.
Do you have anything right now?
I shower before the games. After my pregame shooting time, shower.
You're one of those guys.
I guess so. I don't know exactly what that means.
Guys.
Yeah.
I was always fascinated by those players.
Well, what time did you normally shoot?
Okay. All right. I see where you're going with this. I would start at 45 on the clock, and I had about 7.5 minutes of shooting.
My clock isn't moving when I'm shooting.
Okay.
I'm at 99.
You're one of the early guys.
I'm the second guy. So
okay.
I'm just going to sit there and sweat for the rest of the...
Who's first?
First is going to be like the two-way guys, and I go second.
Do you rinse off, or do you use body wash? Do you re-lather? Like, how does that work?
I shower. Like
full shower?
Yes.
Okay. Shampoo?
No.
Okay.
No.
Face wash?
No.
Body wash?
Yes.
Wait, so just shower and wings or something else?
Yeah. No, nothing else. That's it. Yeah,
all right. Awesome stuff. Like I said, huge fan of the brand. Go to roback.com, use code OLD to get 20% off. And Trey, we will be gifting you one of their beautiful performance hoodies today. Trey, this has been awesome, man. You're welcome on the show anytime. Sorry for the ribbing. Don't take it personally.
Yeah, I won't.
All right. Well, Tommy, that was a fun conversation with Trey. Let's get to the mailbag. What do we have to start?
We got a lot today. We got 6 pages of questions.
I don't think we're going to get
Twitter.
through all 6 pages.
I don't think, unfortunately, we're going to get through a lot. Let's start with Jake Lee from Twitter. Writes in, which player do you think has the most to gain from this year's playoffs? And he says as a comp, thinking like Jalen Brunson from last year.
Right. Oh, interesting question. You know what's funny? We were asked this question on First Take, and I said Giannis because the list of multiple people who have won multiple MVPs and multiple Finals MVPs is you can count them on one hand, and they're all NBA legends. Actually, I think there's 6 of them total, so he would be the 7th. You know, I thought he had a chance basically to cement sort of his long-term legacy as a top 10, top 15 player of all time. If he's using Jalen Brunson as a comp, then that
kind of leads me in the direction of someone who is a potential free agent. And similar to last year, because a lot of guys just re-sign with their teams, it's not a very deep free agent class. If I look at teams that I think potentially could win an NBA championship, and most of the teams that are still in, I still feel pretty strongly about. I don't know who's a free agent. Who's a free agent? I actually don't know.
Well, I think I could think of one person who plays in New York City who's going to get paid.
Oh, well, yeah. Josh is going to get paid. Yeah, he'll get paid for sure. I'll give you one.
Evil F.
I'll give you one. We saw his performance last night against the Lakers. Desmond Bane, our guy Desmond Bane.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I think they're going to extend him. They'd be stupid not to. And given that they're, a smaller market, given that they drafted him, I would expect him, maybe not the max, but close to it for that rookie extension. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that, he's averaging, call it 35 a year on that contract, especially because you've got next year, which is 2023, 2024. You've got year one of the deal in 2024, 2025. And then in year two, the new TV money kicks in. You have to assume there'll be a bump in the salary or the cap. So he's gonna get paid regardless. He has a chance to get pretty damn close to the max if he plays the way he did last night, and the Grizzlies end up winning and making a deeper run in the playoffs.
Yeah, he's been unbelievable.
I like that question.
O'Shea Brissett Burner. O'Shea MR. What's the greatest playoff performance you've witnessed in person?
Great question. The greatest series from a player that I witnessed in person was the 2009 Conference Finals. LeBron James averaged 38, 8, and 8 for the series in 6 games. We threw everything at him. I don't think the rest of their team was it was pre this notion that you need to put, shooters around LeBron. It was, pre-Heat, pre-Cavs. So we just clogged everything up, and we threw multiple bodies at him. We always had a guy at the nail. He wasn't taking a ton of jumpers, and he just
the buzzer beater year.
Yeah, that was game 2, and he just got to the fucking basket and scored and put everybody in foul trouble. Greatest single game was definitely Kawhi, game 6, 2021, Clippers, Mavs. We had them beat. We were up that game, and he had the most surgical 44 points on 18 of 25 shooting. No wasted dribbles, just a monster. By the way, we want to wish we gave a little love to Victor Oladipo. We want to give some love to Kawhi. Just awful. And I know yesterday we talked about this on First Take, his situation. And I brought up the word empathy. And, I'm going to go on a little tangent here, and I apologize because we're going off mailbag. But as an athlete who has been hurt and as an athlete who's had a couple serious injuries, nothing like a torn quad tendon, nothing like a torn meniscus, nothing like a torn ACL. I know the rehab process. I know being away from the team. I know being not able to do something you love. It's grueling, man. It really is. And the guys that continuously are having these injuries like Vic and like Kawhi, I feel for them.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say is, Mad Dog, and I'll talk to Mad Dog about this in person. I'm not throwing digs at Mad Dog. Mad Dog brought up Larry Bird playing through a concussion. He brought up Kevin McHale playing through a hairline fracture in his foot. And it's interesting because, look, I do think I'm not saying the game was easier. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a reason guys were able to play through stuff. Medical knowledge for one. The style of play of the game. The game back in the 80s was very, and this is not in reference to Larry Bird. This is more in reference to Kevin McHale. The game back in the 80s was very linear. right? You're playing Lakers in the finals. It's fucking up and down. And then in the half court, you're playing a little box. You're playing a little box around the paint. The Celtics had a play where they would put Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish, and Larry Bird. Two of them would be on one block and one would be on the other block. And they would just set back screens for each other until one of them got the ball in the post. That's not today's NBA. I know what is required to play in today's NBA. You can't do that. The other point I made yesterday, because this gets brought up all the time. It got brought up with Zion. The other point I made yesterday was this idea that, hey, you can give us 10 to 15 minutes at 70% or 80%. You're going to get fucking roasted. You're going to get roasted. And you're going to get exploited on the court. And within 2 or 3 possessions, if you play through a torn meniscus, if you play through a torn hamstring, you're going to get exploited. It's impossible to do that. And it's also, this is the other point, it's in the worst interest, not the best interest of the player. 1987 finals. Found this article yesterday after First Take. They're writing about Kevin McHale and his injury. Happened in March. Didn't initially realize it had happened. Played through it. Got worse and worse and worse. They've got quotes from the doctor treating him. Yes, the bone can separate. It would cause long-term problems. It would cause screws and pins and surgery in his foot. They've got a quote from Larry Bird. Well, damn. If he's going to have a major surgery, I say get his butt out of here, right? There's a blurb in the article. Kevin McHale in game 2 managed 15 points and 5 rebounds, but he couldn't guard James Worthy on the other end, and Worthy had 33. That is the issue. That is the issue. You can't play hurt. There are certain injuries and certain guys where you can play through injuries and be effective. A torn meniscus and a torn hamstring is not one of them.
Yeah.
It's not one of them.
Fox plays through the finger. If it's a hand thing, it's a little easier probably to play through than
there were times in my career, like, again, no major injuries. Although I do think anybody who's had a herniated disc, and I've had multiple herniated discs, it's fucking sucks. You get a herniated disc and a spasm. I have a degenerative disc at L5S1. I've had it, since I found it out 2 weeks before the draft. You get a back spasm. And there's varying degrees of a back spasm. But when you get a back spasm and you lock up, literally lock up. You can't move. Can't get out of bed. Can't tie your shoes. How the fuck am I supposed to play in a basketball game? Now, there were times where, 5 days later, I'm like, all right, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to play through this for the next week. And I would. There were times I cracked my fibula head. And they said it's non-weight-bearing bone in your leg. As soon as the pain tolerance is good. So 2 weeks later, I played in a game. I played all the games until the All-Star break after that. Took another 3 weeks till I felt pain-free, but I was able to manage it. I didn't have the meniscus tear, a torn hamstring. Yeah. You can't play through that.
Well, also, and you mentioned this yesterday about just when you've played high-level sports, you understand this. When you have an injury, it greatly increases the chances of making the injury worse or potentially adding another injury off it because your body isn't right. And I'll give you a specific example of this. This is what happened with Vic.
Yeah.
His first injury was because he was playing hurt.
Yeah.
If he wasn't playing hurt, who knows if that happens? And D Rose, to a certain extent, when he tore his ACL, was probably like that too. It's like you have to. There's a reason why you have these medical staffs.
KD, I mean, he had a calf injury that he was out, that he was nursing, ended up tearing his Achilles. Like, I hate talking about these injuries because I actually feel sick to my stomach. It's gross. It's gross. The point about the cumulative effect is great too, because I think injuries beget injuries. And Todd Wright, who's an absolute legend in the sports performance space, longtime UT head trainer, went to Philly, worked with him in Philly. He's now head of sports performance with the Clippers. He always used to say to me, you guys are master compensators. That's what he would say. You guys figure out ways to play. And the bad part about that is eventually that leads to a serious injury.
Yep.
And going back to Kawhi, I know he's got a long road ahead, and I know he's going to load manage for the rest of his career. But Jesus, man, I just want to see him on the court. He's fucking that good.
We saw it in game 1. Saw it in game 1 and 2. Nathan Langone writes in, do you think with their current success, Sacramento is a destination stars will be considering? Their style of basketball is something to be desired.
It's a good question because Sacramento is not necessarily a free agent destination historically. I think Mike Brown, I saw an interview with him the other day. He was with Ernie and the guys on TNT. He was talking about the growth of his career and how he has developed basically a modern coaching style and how much that has changed since, the early 2000s when he was with Pop, right? And his time with Cleveland or his time with the Lakers. And I'm listening to this interview and I'm like, fuck, man, that's a guy I'd want to play for.
Yeah.
What's interesting about Sac, though, is they're so young. I said this on First Take yesterday, they don't need to be a free agent destination. Now, who knows what happens with Harrison Barnes? He's probably, one of their older guys or whatever. But their core group of young guys are all, 27 or younger?
Yeah.
They've got a long runway here. And I think if they can draft around the edges really well, and if they can pick up rotation level guys, maybe a fifth starter, whatever happens with Barnes. Again, I'm not saying Barnes should leave. I'm just saying they've got a bright future regardless. I don't know that they need to be a free agent destination.
Yeah, because sometimes when you add another star to a system, this is a record-setting offense. I mean, it's not like you need more points. It's like you need guys that can help around the margins.
Yeah.
Not a Laker hater is the Twitter.
I love these.
Who's the most underrated role player?
It's Derrick White. I know I keep saying this.
Yeah.
Like Derrick White. So what's interesting is I think it was, I don't know if DeJounte talked directly about this, but there were times where Derrick White was there was a playoff series where he was the number one guy. At times, most of the time it was DeJounte. But you get a guy who has been a 1 guy, a 2 guy, a 3 guy, a 4 guy too in San Antonio. So he's had all those roles. He understands all those roles. Then you bring him to a team with 2 stars and a bunch of guys kind of like him that have been in a bunch of different roles and starred in those roles. To me, he's the perfect role guy.
Yeah.
The perfect role guy.
Yeah.
He can do everything for you.
Do you think he should be playing more down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean that was a big thing. I brought up we had a 50-second video yesterday. They made 6 egregious bad decisions. One of which wasn't a B-roll, but one of which was he didn't play down the stretch in Game 5, and they started the clip too late. But at the start of the last play, and by the way, ridiculous shot from Trey Young.
Yeah.
Ridiculous
last 3 minutes.
Yeah. He had 100% usage rate in clutch time. Like he literally did everything offensively for the Hawks. That's unheard of. 100% usage rate.
Could we, I don't know, this is another sidebar. Could we give Trey Young a little credit? Because I feel like he was a punching bag all season, and they're probably not going to win the series.
Yeah.
Almost certainly not going to win the series. But I feel like he has redeemed himself significantly over the last, whatever month or so. And this is a guy that got to the conference finals 2 years ago. It's like he's had a great career for where he is in his life.
I think it's with him. He's a star. There's no question. He's a guy. And look, to a degree, I think I've talked about this before. This is not a knock on Luka. Both of them, you've got to figure out the right way to build around them, and that's a challenge. Like Kevin Durant, Jason Tate, they're not they're plug and play, but it's just like big wings that can guard multiple positions. They're the biggest luxury to have, and when you have a star at that position, they're the easiest people to build around. Derrick White, beginning of the play, he's guarding Trey Young, and to me, he's the guy that probably can guard Trey Young the best in space, meaning the pickup point can be higher, his length can recover quicker, and they point switch to get Jaylen Brown, which is fine, like Jaylen Brown, but then Jaylen Brown's pickup point was a little too low. Marcus Smart came way too late on the double. You see him as Trey's pulling up. He's like running into the frame. And the way they had set up with someone in the dunker spot, I would have just sent Marcus, as soon as Trey Young caught the ball, I would have just sent Marcus Smart and rotated out of it.
Yeah.
They had an opportunity to do that, and they tried, but it was 2 seconds too late.
I'm going to combine these 3 questions because they're similar, and they're about 3, one playoff team, 1 half playoff team, and 1 non-playoff team, but just what they can do this summer to get better. Rafael Ferrone, Mark Jackson Jr., and Nick Delisio asks about Brooklyn, the Wizards, and the Bulls. And so if we're just making one, we don't have to go deep on these teams, but we're like one thing they should be thinking about this summer that where they can improve. What are we thinking?
With the Wizards and the Bulls, blow it up. Very clear. Blow it up. Sorry.
You think the Bulls for sure? Blow it up?
Yeah. Sorry. And look, they're probably in that 4, 5, 6 spot if they have Lonzo.
Yeah.
But that's probably the ceiling. Even with the healthy Lonzo, your ceiling's not that high without Lonzo. So, look, if you want to be in the play-in every year, I get it, but that's kind of where their trajectory is right now. And it's not a knock necessarily on their players because I like a lot of their players. It's more about how those players fit. It's more about their shot profile. They don't take threes. They can't make threes. It's hard to win.
Yep.
It's hard to win. Porzingis had a good year. He's got a player option. He could be up for an extension. I just think they, outside of getting John Wall with number 1, they've always sort of lived in that space. And I think the last time they got out of the first round, if I'm not mistaken, was 2016.
Yeah. Boston.
So you're on a 7-year run with either play-in, first round, or non-playoffs. And with the current roster, you blow it up. Brooklyn is interesting. I think you go for a star. I think you wait, see what happens in the playoffs, see who becomes available, and you go for a star because they have tradable pieces. They have a contract, and it may be hard to move. Obviously, we know who we're talking about. They have a contract that can go get a star, and they have draft assets. So that's the path forward, I think, for Brooklyn.
What do you think for Antonio R. writes in, what do you think it will take for Philly to put it all together? I think besides Joel's health, obviously.
Yeah, I mean that's the obvious one. To me, it's especially in this second round. And I hate to simplify it to this. To me, it probably comes down to Boston's turnovers, and on the other end, can Philly sort of at least keep pace on 3-pointers? And we can look. We'll do something next week, I'm sure, where we really get into this series because it's going to be awesome. But that's sort of the markers that I'm looking for. And I think Boston, when they struggle, it's bad decision making, especially down the stretch of games. So can they limit turnovers, create good shots like they normally do in the half court, and can Philly keep pace from 3-point land?
Yeah. The Jarrell Life writes, can you dig into what days in between playoff games are like while staying in an away city?
Yeah, it's different than the regular season. Regular season, if you're on a road trip and you have a day off in a city, you still go to the gym and you still get your treatment, you still lift weights like you would in the playoffs, but you explore a little bit. Maybe you organize a team dinner. Maybe if you have a friend in that city, you go to dinner. The playoffs are always just more insular. I mean, there were times I didn't leave the hotel room. There were times maybe I went out to dinner with 2 or 3 guys the night before a game. But it's way more meetings. It's way more film. You might get in the regular season on certain teams, you get there for shoot around, or you get there. A lot of teams now do shoot around at the arena at 4 or 4:30 prior to the game. But you may get a 5-minute segment on personnel and then a 10 to 15-minute video max.
Yeah.
And that gets multiplied 2x, 3x on both those things during the playoffs. So you have personnel, like I was on teams where you had personnel meetings every day during the playoffs.
We were talking about this with Trey, I don't think on the show, but after the show the other day, with the timing being off with some of these games because of the playoffs, is there an adjustment that it takes from a body standpoint, just getting yourself, especially, you've had such a sort of defined routine, guys who have routines like that, is there a thing where you have to adjust there at all?
Earlier, yes. Later, it was never an adjustment. It just meant more nap time for me. It just meant more nap
extra
time.
45 minutes.
Yeah, it just meant I had a clearer head when it was time to put the head on the pillow. I was like, oh, I have a long window here. I don't need to rush this. It was beautiful. So sometimes you might get a Central team that gets a 6:30 game or a 6 o'clock game. Weekends, obviously, that's different. Christmas Day was always the same way, where you could potentially get like a 5:30 game, or those were the worst to me.
Yeah.
Especially if you did shoot around in the morning, because it kind of throws your whole routine off. But as long as it's like 6:30 or later, it feels pretty much the same. Thank you for your questions. We appreciate you as always.